In actual production, butt horizontal welding of electrodes and arc welding plates is mostly used for the welding of horizontal, vertical and circumferential welds of small vessels or small diameter pipes. This welding method can weld outside the vessel and form welds inside. It is also what we often call single-sided welding and double-sided forming. In this class, we will explain the basic operation skills of butt horizontal welding of electrodes and arc welding plates. Learning objectives. 1. Understand the electrode transport method in horizontal arc welding with electrodes. 2. Master the technical requirements and operation techniques of butt horizontal welding of plates. 3. Select welding parameters. Next, we take the thickness of 10 mm and the material of Q235B steel plate as an example to explain the operation skills of butt horizontal welding of electrode arc welding plates. The students read the workpiece pattern, complete the welding piece production task, and meet the technical requirements of the workpiece pattern. The welding operation is divided into 3 layers: the bottom layer, the filling layer and the cover layer. Let's follow my video below to understand the operation of butt horizontal welding of welding rod and arc welding plate. Welding rod arc welding plate butt horizontal welding can be divided into bottom layer welding, filling layer welding and cover layer welding. The bottom layer is welded. The diameter of the electrode is 3.2 mm, and the welding current is 105 amps. Fix the assembled test plate vertically on the fixture according to the horizontal welding position. When the bottom layer is welded, the right welding method is used, and the arc welding is performed for welding. During the welding process, the angle between the electrode and the weldment is 80 to 90 degrees, and the inclination angle between the electrode and the welding forward direction is 70 to 80 degrees. When welding the bottom layer, start the arc in the groove 10 to 15 mm before the starting welding end, and then pull the arc back to the tack weld for welding. When the welding arc reaches the end of the tack weld, depress the arc at the root of the groove. When a pop sound is heard, it means that the welding pool has been formed, and the arc should be extinguished immediately. When the color of the molten pool turns dark red, the arc should be reignited immediately above the molten pool for welding. Repeat the above arc welding method repeatedly until the bottom welding is completed. When the electrode needs to be replaced, pull the electrode back about 10 to 15 mm in the opposite direction of welding, and lift the electrode quickly, so that the arc is gradually elongated and extinguished quickly. This brings the shrinkage hole to the surface of the weld so that it can be melted away when the next electrode is welded. Note that the burn-back time should not be too long, so that the joint becomes a slope. The arc of the joint should be 15 mm in front of the crater or weld pool. After the arc is ignited, it is properly elongated, and it is quickly led to the joint arc crater along the seam, overlapping 2/3 of the original molten pool, and transporting it properly. When the front and rear molten pools are in good agreement and meet the requirements of the weld size, the welding is applied to the welding direction. After the bottom layer welding is completed, use tools such as a hammer or steel chisel to clean up the coating and spatter generated during the bottom layer welding to avoid defects such as slag inclusion in the next layer of welding. Filler welding, electrode diameter 3.2 mm, welding current 110 amps. The filling layer adopts the continuous arc welding method for straight arc welding, and adopts multi-pass welding from bottom to top. When the first weld of the filler layer is welded, the angle between the electrode and the weldment is 95 to 100 degrees. Start the arc in the groove of 10 to 15 millimeters in front of the starting welding end, and then pull the arc back to the starting welding end for welding. The arc is aimed at the lower edge of the bottom bead for welding, so that the molten pool covers 1/2 to 2/3 of the bottom bead surface and fuses well with the down groove surface. Fill the crater with arc welding when finishing. Cover surface welding. Electrode diameter 3.2 millimeters. Welding current 105 to 110 amps. The cover layer welding adopts the continuous arc welding method to perform straight arc welding, and also adopts multi-pass welding from bottom to top. Each weld starts the arc on the filler layer 10 to 15 millimeters before the start of the weld, and then pulls the arc back to the start of the weld for welding. When welding the first weld, the angle between the electrode and the weldment is 85 to 90 degrees. The welding speed should be uniform, and the molten pool and the edge of the groove are well fused. Control the welding speed to prevent the weld bead from falling. When welding other cover welds except the first and last cover welds, the angle between the electrode and the weldment is 75 to 85 degrees, and the position of the welding arc is controlled so that the lower part of each cover weld edge, covering 1/2 of the previous cap weld. The transition between weld bead is smooth and neat. When the last cover weld of the cover layer is welded, the angle between the electrode and the weldment is 70 to 75 degrees. Appropriately reduce the welding current or increase the welding speed. Control the welding angle and welding speed during the welding process. Ensure that the molten pool and the upper edge of the groove are well fused, and prevent the molten pool from flowing down under the influence of gravity, resulting in undercut defects due to poor fusion with the upper edge of the groove. In the process of cover welding, short arc welding should be used as much as possible. The speed of the electrode should be uniform, and the overlapping position of each weld should be smooth and neat to prevent uneven and teardrop-shaped welds. The arc crater is filled with arc welding at the end of each weld. Through the operation video just now, we need to master the following operating skills. 1. Use the anti-deformation method to prevent corner deformation before welding. 2. Use short arc, multi-layer and multi-pass welding to prevent burn-through. 3. Choose a small diameter electrode for the bottom layer. The frequency of short arc welding should be appropriate. 4. The arc should stay at the root of the groove properly to prevent undercut. Finally, according to the different positions of the weld bead, adjust the appropriate electrode angle to prevent the upper side of the steel plate from undercut and the lower side falling. It is good. That's all for this class. Thank you for watching.